ahead and call this meeting to order. You get a roll call when you get a chance.
Katie,
Here.
Lisa,
Here.
Vicky,
Here.
Bethany,
Here.
Jessica,
Here.
Jennifer absent, and Chantel absent.
Welcome visitors. Hi, Dan. So we have Dan Alenardo from
Independent Construction Services.
Thank you. And Peter, hello, and Chuck, hello. Any public comments?
None received.
Gotcha. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I motion we approve the consent agenda.
I second the motion.
Okay. Any discussion? Roll call.
Katie,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Vicky,
Aye.
Bethany,
Aye.
Jessica,
Aye.
motion passed. Jennifer and Chantel absent.
There's a lot of items tucked in there this time.
We got it done this month.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm like, okay, and more minutes, and more minutes. So, okay, so our first item is our discussion of our building project options. So that's Dan.
Okay.
Welcome.
You have the
I do.
document.
Tis ready.
So after further discussion, the architect provided a 4 options for projects meeting some. Can I sit down?
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry.
People?
Dan Alenardo with Independent Construction Services, and we have, in the past, from the construction of this building, acted as the library's owner's representative. So that's the role we are fulfilling now for conceptual future projects.
And what that means is that you represent our interests to any
Correct.
contractors that we might work with to take on some of these projects.
Essentially, what I do is assist the library in the entire process, from selecting the concepts to selecting the design team, all the way through the design, and just act as a representative who has experience in the construction field and the projects and the requirements that the library might have to procure those. We work with we help you select eventually the design team, prepare the documents, go out to bid. We make some recommendations to you once those bids are received. And then through construction, we're kind of an oversight. We are not a construction company. I have no interest in building this for you. And we just have we represent specifically libraries throughout Chicago. So we're actually representing Hodgkins. You might be aware of, they're building a new building. So we work with them. And we do everything from new construction like that to renovations to maintenance items. And just act as kind of your experienced advocate through the whole process. So it really is a wide range of things we do, and it's very specific to the project going on. So in this case, you guys had a master plan and a facility assessment done by Angberg Anderson. We actually participated in assisting you in hiring Angberg Anderson to do that work. The results of those were some recommendations of some areas that could be improved. We have now, the initial evaluation really doesn't take into account anything like, what's your budget? What do you want to do? Do you have, future plans? So now we're starting to get into the details of some potential actual projects. So what Angberg Anderson has provided is some 4 recommended projects that meet some of the needs identified in those evaluations. And they range from fairly small to pretty significant renovations. Ultimately, I think the general consensus is that the second floor renovation of the entire second floor is probably something that might be a long-term goal and probably require some funding efforts of some sort, depending whether that is a referendum or trying to fund or to self-fund it over a series of years of savings. So to that end, Angberg Anderson provided some recommendations for 4 projects. And if you can pop ahead to the next one. These projects, and I'll just generally describe them, we can go to in as much detail about them as you want. But the first one is a project that would improve your exterior book drop. And this is a project that was identified after some discussions and after the construction and implementation of your drive-up window. The drive-up window, or the book drop that currently exists, is really intended to be accessible by vehicle. This drive-up would be in addition to that, but it would be a walk-up book drop. It would utilize some of the same infrastructure as is there for your drive-up one, meaning that the books would end up in the same place, but they would be accessed through an area that is safe and away from traffic. So that's the first one. There are 2 options to that, and the one is very simply, if you recognize where we're looking at, the drive-up is over here. The book drop is envisioned to go somewhere in this area, in the wall. People would still have to either get out of their car here and walk over, or park and walk to it. So it is, there are some challenges to it, and I think that the architect identified some concerns he has relative to functionality. But there also are some very real concerns about how it's constructed. It's going in what is an old dumbwaiter shaft, and the dumbwaiter shaft essentially is the same as an elevator shaft. So it's created to be not penetrated by anything, for purposes of fire protection, things like that. And now we've changed the use, and we're trying to, we're making holes into it. So there are some considerations for how that would have to happen, and quite frankly, it makes it pretty expensive for what it is. As another option, they identified a simpler option, which also has some challenges to it, is put a book drop that would be accessed right through a panel. One of the glass panels would be removed, and a book drop would sit just inside your vestibule, and people would walk up and drop something in there. Similarly to the other one, it has some advantages and some disadvantages. One of the biggest advantages is it's much less expensive. You can see the options they're talking about, and please take these numbers with a grain of salt. No design work has been done on this, so these are very much conceptual budgets. They're a range, obviously, they range by quite a bit, and as the details are worked out, those numbers could potentially go up and down.
That's
So-
what the fine print says.
That's all this rigmarole here. There's a fancy way of saying this is our best guess, but we'll tell you more if you want to consider this project and they start developing more details to it. But first thing everybody asks, well, how much is that going to cost? How much, And this is giving you kind of a magnitude of cost. So the more involved, punching holes through the wall and creating a book drop near your drive up ranges from $75,000 to basically $100,000. To do a little simpler one in the vestibule is $25,000 to $30,000 essentially, and all of them have their pluses and minuses. This is one option. It was identified as being something that could improve, patron experience. One of the architect's comments was, it is going to improve the experience to a fairly small percentage of your patrons. So this isn't something that, 50% of your patrons use every day. This is kind of something that a small group will think this is the greatest thing in the world, and then a much larger group will say, what? You did what? We didn't, didn't really affect us. So that's one of the projects. You flip to number 2. The rest of these projects really focused on the second floor. One of the things that they identified was along the perimeter of the building, there are a lot of areas that have kind of uncontrolled light coming in those and make it little difficult or less than perfect for patrons inside the building. They're recommending, or suggesting, I should say, not recommending, they're suggesting window treatments, shades, for lack of a more complex description. And the big option between the two is if you do manual shades, meaning have a chain and you lower them or raise them, you could spend $50,000 to $60,000. Commercial shades are a little different than what you might find in your house, but they are essentially doing just that. They're screening a percentage of the light. If we want motorized shades that essentially are somehow linked together, where maybe from the surf desk they can hit a button and all on one elevation will go down or raise or whatever, obviously that starts to get involved in additional costs for the shades themselves, plus some kind of power requirements for them. And that, takes into account the fact that there'll probably have to be things like drywall cut out to have access for those. So all of that puts us in a $135,000 to $165,000. And again, it will have an improvement to a patron experience. How much? It's kind of up to you guys to evaluate. We'll go ahead and go to the third one. We start getting into a little bit more of construction. Most of these projects on the second floor are kind of aimed towards a future bigger job up there. They're little pieces of what might be done in the future. And study rooms are always a hot item in all libraries. They're usually very well used and popular. Technology is changing every day, and no matter what is in those rooms, there's something else that could be in those rooms. In this case, your rooms were put together with very little technology in them. 20 years ago, I guess, there wasn't a lot of
Not even enough power outlets.
requirements for, Zoom. If you would have asked somebody what a Zoom meeting was 20 years ago, they would probably not know. And now it's, fairly regular. So to renovate those rooms, and this is not to physically change the size of the room, it is really to bring technology into them and refresh them a little bit. So it's going to include some AV upgrades to them. It's going to include paint and, maybe a change of light fixtures. Maybe the light fixtures might be dated and those kind of things. It doesn't include any of the furniture. It doesn't include any of the equipment. So this would be all the infrastructure to be able to put a TV in there. The TV would be purchased directly by the library as an additional item purchased through one of your other budget line items. Not included in that number is essentially what I'm telling you. The idea with that would be that the existing study rooms, their location almost certainly will not change in a future second floor renovation. Those rooms are still going to be study rooms. They will probably be updated, and this is kind of that first step towards updating them. It's not adding rooms, so I think you have three, and there's one bigger and two smaller. Is that right? Or?
Yes, and then the facilities improvement plan goes up to 8, I believe.
Yeah, in
So that
the
would be
big
the long
picture,
goal.
there would be other rooms added as part of that second floor renovation, but these would almost certainly stay where they are. Very few libraries are removing any study rooms. It's just a matter of where can we wedge in some more is almost the option.
And so the majority of that number is that the electrical stuff, the technology?
I don't know if they've really broken down, but it's construction, things like carpeting, painting, electrical infrastructure. One thing that would probably be looked at when we start adding electrical equipment is HVAC. Unfortunately, when we start adding big TVs and things to small rooms like that, we have to take that into account. So there's probably some HVAC improvements. Generally a refresh. I hate to oversimplify it, but it's kind of paint and pretty stuff. And then the infrastructure for the technology to be added or updated. Some of your first floor children's area and lobby, the I'm not an architect, I'm not an interior designer, but there is a very distinct difference between the first floor and the second floor as far as our in design. And I think the concept would be to start bringing that second floor more into line with what you've done on the first floor and in the entry. And then the last project is the most ambitious. It is reimagining how your current quiet reading room would be used. Your current quiet reading room was identified as underutilized in the plan. And the vision would be to create that as a more usable program space and a more open space to the rest of the second floor. A big part of what the architect feels would improve is to improve this opening so it's not just a single door going in there, it'd be a larger opening. None of that design work has been done, but essentially what he's identified in his budget is that there'll have to potentially be some structural work to be able to create that opening. Unfortunately, we can't just cut a hole in the wall. We have to look at what that affects. So that is the most ambitious and generally the most expensive. By the same token, it probably has the most impact on the building and the most patrons are affected by it. I would say the study rooms and that are probably the two will be the two most noticed. The big advantage to this, and to a certain extent the study rooms, is this is probably a part of your second floor renovation that you would do in the future. So it's kind of reducing that work a little bit. It's less of a do this space and then later come back and do the rest of the second floor, or touch this again when you do the rest of the second floor. The idea would be that at least to a certain extent, they would develop the entire second floor plan in order to design this room. The entire second floor wouldn't be completely designed, but there would definitely be a concept so that, when it's all said and done, we don't look back and say, oh, this opening should have been 6 feet over that way, or something like that. They will want to look at how the stacks are laid out in front of it, and a big part of it is when you get off the elevator, people have to know what's back there. So how are you going to create that kind of wayfinding?
You said that study room is not really used today?
It
The
is.
quiet reading.
The quiet room?
The quiet reading room is used very infrequently. So during the 12 hours a day that we're open Monday through Thursday, it's maybe used by 2 to 3 people. You will see an increase during study when we have studying for finals and you have people just all over the building or that kind of stuff. So it's not, because it is so tucked away and its original intention as a quiet reading room, makes perfect sense for it to be quiet and not used that often. But we do have maybe 1 or 2 patrons that will park and chill in there all day. So it does get some use, but in relation to how it could be used if it was open, more inviting, and had better furniture and access,
I think more people would use it if
Yeah.
it were designed differently.
Yeah, I think so. And one of the things that I love from the original facilities improvement plan that we talked about was that we had said maybe adding a glass door to that. So opening that up also brings in all of that light access from they kind of called this the money shot corner because it faces.
This is the most prominent from the upstairs looking out, looks to downtown Grange.
Yeah.
And right now, Jen, I don't know if the numbers are accurate, but 1 or 2 people are seeing that a day. Mm-hmm. And that could be greatly increased by having more people come in there and realize, hey, I'm looking down LaGrange Avenue and I see
Or
all.
have it used as a room where people can reserve it or whatever.
We were even talking about having hosting a book club in there, or if we ever, we've had art gallery stuff down here in the past, but wouldn't it be nice to have a walkable art gallery upstairs in that room for a month or something like that, where you can really make it a destination instead, or a point of
People are
call
aware of it,
instead of just
Their concept does include some kind of glass
yeah.
partition here, whether it's a completely removable one or 100% transparent. Again, is all what would be developed through design.
And right now it's a traditional door, right?
Yeah, it's glass.
Yeah, it's a
but-
double door.
But I think it makes it a little off-putting, like you feel like you have to.
Like, am I supposed to go
Exactly,
in here?
yeah,
Someone's
yeah.
in there and
It's
they're
not
being
very
quiet,
inviting.
right?
Well,
Yeah.
and originally, technically, we took down the letters that said quiet reading room because we thought maybe more people would go in there if it wasn't like a designated quiet space. But we did that, Peter, 2023.
We changed the designation in 2023 and then pulled the letters that we were doing the repainting last year because we just wanted to like patch everything over and do it. So it's been about a year, but
And it hasn't
It just
changed
seems
the
so
traffic.
formal. I think that's what's intimidating. It
Yeah.
sounds
It also,
like a relaxed.
For some reason, is the only room that has like a laminate floor, hardwood looking tile in it, which it fits with the vibe of the building as it was built in 2007.
We joked, so I was vaguely connected with the construction as a little before my father was still representing the library, but it was always described as the cigar lounge.
Yeah,
That's what it seems like.
It's kind of, deep, rich wood, it's,
Like-
you would expect to go in there and be a haze and.
An actual
you know,
library in like
three
a house
people-
from the 1900s.
Right.
Yeah.
So that, it does have that feel, but
Yeah.
the second floor right now has a very formal feel.
Right.
And that's maybe been changed a little bit on the first and second floor, and I think the idea might be that might be a little more inviting to a larger group of your patrons.
And we've shared the facility improvement plan that we all, said this is the direction we're going in February, so you all have access to that as well. So these, any of the rendering, like this rendering here is one that's from the actual plan. So, and then one of the things that one is. The pictures that are on the bottom, and it's been kind of on the slides and ongoing, is showing both something that is like ultra modern and something that is incorporating modern and classic together. Because I think the incorporation of the modern and classic together kind of fits with where our building would end up.
It might make it feel a little less like a hodgepodge in the interim between when we can do a more thorough.
There are certain architectural aspects of the building that you're not going to change, and you can't ignore those. And that's why a good library architect will be able to incorporate those and bring concepts that
updated, but don't.
updated, but not, we don't want a spaceship.
Right.
And
So confused.
this one, I think that's Joliet, right? The one on the right?
I think that's what Joe
Really
said, yeah.
pretty.
So Joliet has a Burnham design building. So when they worked with Angberg Anderson, that was huge,
Yeah.
was to keep that kind of feel and that vibe. And that was something that was pointed out to us in the facility improvement plan process, is that, they're not coming in trying to make it not like the Grange library. The goal is not to make it, a brand new renovated library that you're gonna see where everything is stark and a lot of white, because I know that was a comment we had a lot too, was we wanted to still have some of the rich tones and that kind of stuff. So the intention of these projects and what's being shown is us moving forward. And whatever this first project is going to be, however we're able to go about it, this is the thing that's going to show the community that we have a plan, we have conscientiously saved and planned, and this is us showing, hey, we're doing what we can within the realm of what's available.
So in the libraries that we've done similar kind of concepts, this is a momentum builder. So you complete a project like this and you show your patrons, hey, with a limited budget, this is what we did. Now, whether it be fundraising or a referendum, whatever, we're asking for some other help from the community to get the big picture. Just as I should have maybe led with this, Angberg Anderson originally was given the direction that the library goal was to utilize about $100,000 per fiscal year. So that was the concept that I hate to call it limitation, because obviously they didn't stay within that limitation, but it's also important to understand that from the time that they get some kind of go-ahead till the time you expend these funds is likely going to go across 2 fiscal years. It will take, even an aggressive design schedule would probably be 6 months. And it might be longer than that. Bidding takes another 2 months by the time you do the complete bidding. So it's, it likely is a year before real serious construction work goes. And we would also work to have the work happen at a time of year where we think you're going to get the most competitive numbers. For an interior renovation project, we want to bid that so that work happens between November and April. Because that's when contractors are looking for inside work in Chicago. If we go out to bid for this and we expect construction to start in June, we're going to be competing, and the contractors are going to be looking at schoolwork at the same time, and they're just less aggressive. So that's part of the whole process that we'll go through as the design gets developed and the project, if there is one, moves forward.
I'd like to speak because we had a meeting, and I mean, he doesn't need to be here, but this isn't what we discussed when we had our finance committee meeting. We had $70,000 available this year for projects. That's it. We weren't looking to do any of these projects, except maybe the book drop. So I don't know why we're starting down this like phase 1, phase 2, and the whole floor, because this year we're supposed to be focusing on the boiler and the roof.
So those projects are already, those are the ones, remember, we said we're using money from the special building fund to do those projects. So those we haven't even tapped or looked at yet. Those don't affect this.
But those are the priority for this year.
Correct, but that's not something we're doing at this point in time, because those would be projects we could work on while the design work was happening.
Okay, but do we need to be bringing in all this?
I mean, it's part of the facility improvement plan that we've had the vision for.
We've had the vision, but we haven't had the budget. That's what we
do have the
discussed.
budget though, Vicki. We talked about that when we budgeted, about specifically certain monies that were set aside for this project, with the recognition that we don't have enough in this budget year to do a project like this budget year.
Or I think we went out like 10 years.
Well, the 10 years is the
actual capital needs, which is what the
that's where you're
special
looking at
building
your
fund is
boiler
for.
and your roof and your windows. You plan for that, you budget for that. These are special projects that we've been talking about, especially setting aside money, especially to do these projects. Maybe not every, one project this year. Maybe we have to spread it over 2 years because we have to allow for the budget, but they're two different things.
Okay, when we spoke at the finance meeting, this was not really in the picture this year, is how we felt.
I would not agree with
No.
that.
Yeah, I think you might
Jenny
be
was there
confusing.
too.
When we
I don't
spoke-
remember
No,
talking
she was
about
not
either
there.
of
She was not
these
there.
things,
We
but I do.
Chantel was here.
No, it's that we
She's not
determined we
here
would
today.
not be able to do the full scope of the facility improvement plan. We knew
Right,
that.
we
that
know we cannot do this.
Right, we couldn't
for,
do a full
like,
second
years.
floor renovation, we can't do a full lower level renovation. So
Right.
the idea was to chunk it into little projects we could knock out every year, every other year.
I don't know that we agreed to do that.
We're talking about it right now, that's why
But
we're
even
here.
the planning of it is kind of getting ahead. We just spent $22,000 on having this whole building looked at. First floor, second floor. And then we went to finance and we said, we don't have the budget for this. It's a lot of money.
We don't have a
Are these
budget
the
for
projects,
what?
so like the 22 grand went to this, right?
To conceptualize what we could do.
Right.
Now this Angberg Anderson is probably another fee that we've paid
Of course, you have to
to
pay
look at this.
every vendor in the
But we've
library.
already decided we don't have the funding.
That's
I
not
don't know that was
true.
a formal decision that I feel the entire board made, that we don't have the money.
The
I don't
finance
feel that I got
committee,
that information.
the finance committee did say we have $70,000 is what we were told by our accountant.
Right, and we do. That's why, and Dan was talking about, the last meeting we presented the timeline of how long it takes to do these projects. And so,
1 to 2 years?
at least.
That's not a very long timeline. I think we need to go back and look at the numbers from that finance meeting. With the new board, I think they should see like how much this costs going
Can I
forward.
ask, what's the root of your concern here?
That we don't have the money, that we keep remodeling and we don't have the money. We've just gotten off, what was it, paying this building off. Like in December, we've just finally, as taxpayers, finished paying this building off. I think we need a rest.
Why do we need a rest?
Why do we need to keep moving?
Why do we need a rest? So
Because
we all
the building,
agree-
those rooms function. I spent some time in the quiet reading room. There is a man that sits there all day. So it's intimidating to walk into that room. He can kind of listen to his music loud. You have to ask him to close it. It has a beautiful view of the city. I encourage new board members to go look at it. Just look at it. I don't know, how you feel, but the library is constantly remodeling, I feel. And I've talked to other taxpayers and they feel this way too. First floor, we lost the tree in the kids' room. That was like an iconic thing that used to be here. I don't know if you remember, or if your kids are little enough.
Yeah, I remember.
So
But I
we
feel like
kind
they
of-
got more engaging things is what is my
It's a trade-off,
understanding.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Like, I don't disagree with you that it was iconic, but then now there's stuff in there that smaller kids who aren't gonna sit and read have hands-on things that they can do while their siblings might. But
And that was $1 million renovation, correct, on that first floor?
It's before my time, I don't know.
I think it was about $1 million we spent.
So I don't want us to get too far off track here because we're here to listen to Dan present these options to us tonight based on a plan that we all voted to pursue because we wanted to have a plan for improvements for the building to keep up with the times. So if you have anything else to share with us?
No, the only thing I would say is, Jen, Peter, and I met with Angberg Anderson. They provided these options and essentially said, let us know how or if you want to move forward with any of these. The next step, should the board identify one or more of these projects or another project, would be to engage Angberg Anderson to continue the design work. We don't have an agreement with them to do any additional design work for any of these projects. So this is essentially the end of their master planning conceptual plan that they did for you. So, there isn't any, plan to move forward other than to present you this and look for feedback from you guys. So that's all I have. And, if there's questions specific about the options, Jen can reach out to, really it'll be to Angberg Anderson, and we can, go from there as far as if there's details about it or, an idea that we want to maybe modify one of these. We like some portion of it, or we want to, take a little piece of one and two of them, put them together. Any of that is possible, just need some direction.
I think too, it's important to remember that we have in this fiscal year said we are going to do something building related with that 70,000. And one of the other parts it's important to remember, and Angberg Anderson told us this when they came, is that when you're doing projects individually in this fashion, one of the things that you lose is the
Economy of
scalability.
scale,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, let's say, for example, we know no matter what you're doing and changing any kind of room stuff, our HVAC is going to have to be affected anyway, right? So it's more cost effective if you're going to do like a full renovation of your entire building or something like that. You have the HVAC contractor working on multiple things at the same time versus doing it in this way is going to be, there's going to be costs. We're going to pay for HVAC this time, but then we're also going to pay for HVAC next time and the next time and the next time. So, looking at a project like this, and remember, these are at least numbers, right? Because tariffs and steel and that kind of stuff, you have to think about that. We don't know what the world's going to look like in 2 years. But I think to remember, we have if you're doing 70,000 this year and 70,000 next year, that is 140,000 to do a project of that size. So all of these things are attainable. Remember last month we told you these were the 4 projects that we were bringing forward. So this is not necessarily out of left field in any way. This is, direction that we've been given that we are moving forward with, as far as that's my understanding.
One thing I have as a question, and this just, you mentioned a roof project and some boiler projects. are those intended to be funded from that $70,000 or something else?
It's a different
So there
line
is
item.
the opportunity of those projects will, the roof guaranteed will, I'm not exactly sure the scope of the boiler project, those will exceed your requirement for public bidding. So those projects will go out and you will incur the general conditions and the overhead costs that every contractor is going to put on that job. So at some point, it's probably something you should consider is combining a couple of those projects into one larger project. Even, if you're funding them from different sources, but ultimately the library is going to spend, the money to renovate the roof. And if you're planning to do another project, do some of them, combine as many as those as you can, because you will save money in the overhead and general conditions that contractors are going to put on any project that they have to, that they bid. I mean, there are costs, insurance and bonds, and all those costs, and you can pay them for each project, or you can pay them once for one bigger project. That's just something to think about as you move forward. And again, the other part of this to emphasize is this is the beginning of a fairly long process. And at any point during that process, you control the stopping and starting. So if there's a design that or a project that you identified and say, this is the one we like, you can make a decision to start design work, and you won't incur any costs other than design costs, which you're going to incur whether you do it this year, next year, or 3 years from now. So that's important. And then the other thing, and this is, I want you to do what you want, but it is the reality of things that everything costs more every year. We figure in construction, it's a minimum of 4% escalation a year. So the work that they're doing now, these are all today's dollars. So when he's talking about bidding 9-10 months from now, you put 3.5%, 4% onto those numbers, just because everything costs more. So
I think it's also important to mention too that we have, we do have funding set aside for design, so that's not necessarily something that would come from any of that 70,000 directly for construction.
Construction costs, yeah, these are construction cost numbers.
Yeah. And each project has its positives and its negatives, right? But one of the other parts to keep in mind is that renovating a public building every 20 years is not out of the realm. It's very different than your home. If you look at our numbers, how many times our meeting rooms are used per day, et cetera. I might be able to live with 2005 designs in my house. I really don't care. But at the same time, with what's happening here, we're looking at just beyond wear and tear. People don't use technology in our study rooms because there's no shade to be able to look at your screen. That's just a fact. Yeah. And when you have rooms that become unusable at a point, that's where we have to look at what makes it usable and what keeps it updated. So this isn't just doing things for the sake of doing things. This is doing things in service of the Grange community. I think that's really important to consider.
Do we have any more specific questions for Dan about any of these options?
And putting the book drops, those metal boxes, is not an option back where they were.
I'm sorry, say that again.
We used to have the metal boxes.
No. Oh, the drive-up ones?
Not an option.
Well, it would block your drive-up. So if someone was up there using those, you can't get around to go use the book drop. So, anything is possible. We could put those on the corner. It kind of negates part of the goal of the drive-up window, but there's nothing physically stopping you from doing that.
Because we were told it wasn't possible.
I think from a traffic standpoint, a traffic engineer will tell you you can't do it because you're putting a device that you're asking people to stop at in the middle of a drive lane that is intended to be moving traffic. That's part of the reason the current drive-up has that kind of second passing lane, so that there's always the ability for a car to get through there even if someone is at the drive-up.
Not if the other cars are parked across from it, you can't get through.
From a traffic standpoint, the traffic engineers designed it so that, yes, a car can drive by while a car is being serviced at the drive-up window. And that condition doesn't exist where the old book drops were. It's too narrow there to do that, essentially. Okay,
Thank you.
thanks everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Jen, I know this is just a discussion item for tonight. Is this something we will have as an action item next month so we can?
I think that the goal is to conduct the meeting that you wanted to do and to make some kind of movement forward with Angberg Anderson, where we say, okay, we're going to do X, Y, or Z, and Peter and I are hoping to do that in August so that we can start moving the whole design paperwork process forward.
Thank you again.
Good night.
Thank you.
Okay, so
I guess I have a question about like finances. So are we fiscally obligated to, if we say we're gonna spend X dollar amount, so sorry if I don't know, but like if there's dollars that like, okay, you're supposed to spend those X way, or like you have X number of dollars to spend towards construction, you have to spend X number of dollars, or how does that work?
are you saying like, do we have to spend the monies that
Well, I
we've
was-
allocated?
Yeah,
or-
so I think we've talked before where you guys have mentioned like, well, we said we were gonna do this or that. I can't remember specifically what. And so you have to show, okay, we're spending that money this way or something.
You're asking if some of the funds are like restricted to like
Right.
specific projects or some are flexible,
Right.
like it goes back into a bigger budget.
Yeah, and then
Is
that,
it?
if you don't spend that 70,000, like what do we do with excess funds? I guess that's the other thing. I don't understand, so I don't know.
Yeah, so the way that it works in public library funding is
Right.
that you set your budget out, and ours is not as detail restricted as like a school district's, for
Sure.
example. There are certain budgets that it's easier for us to move things between because it's almost like a bucket.
Yeah.
So you can pick from this bucket and put it into that bucket. We have more of you have to spend at least on certain things. So
Got it.
like 10 to 12% of your budget has to be spent on circulating or checkoutable materials, for
Got it.
example.
Okay.
So there's something
Some
there.
requirements.
When we put out our levy letter to the village, the only things that we really talk about are how much we plan to do for personnel, for materials, and capital improvements is one of them.
Okay.
Any money that is left at the end of the year, once we do our fiscal audit, which is presented to the board in October, it's actually happening right now, believe it or not. Once that is done, they tell us what we have left over at the end of the year as net.
Okay.
And previously what had happened is that they would, put money out there and it would be saved until the end of the year, and you're transferring $90,000 to $100,000 into your special building fund at the end of the year,
Yeah.
which is fine. But we worked with a financial advisor last
Remember you
year.
talking about that.
Yes, and he talked about really being more accurate with our budgeting so that we would be able to say, we're not waiting until this money is all saved, we're going to actively do projects with it. So I think that's where the goal of 70 to 80,000 was put out before us.
Got it.
I worked with Peter this year and we made some decisions budgetarily that we were able to make sure we got 70,000 by which to spend on capital improvements.
Okay.
The other part for like the boiler and chiller and the roof, yes, those are projects that are ready to be worked on, but the board made the decision to earmark the special building fund for those kinds of projects. Those will be massively expensive. Those would
Right.
not be something we could pull from the regular budget.
Got it.
But some things spread, when we went to Angberg Anderson and we said, we have $70,000, isn't that amazing? They were like, no, not really. I mean, 70, it's going to cost $60,000 to $65,000 even. They gave us like just furniture numbers, just to do furniture on the second floor. So, I mean, there's definitely things that we can do within the 70,000, but they talked about splitting it across the 2 fiscal years because then we could do 70 and 70 and
Right.
140 and do get a little bit more bang for our buck, basically.
Got it.
Because new furniture is awesome, but does it really have the impact that it will be felt, number one, or number two, to be that momentum building project. And that's the part to really think about, so if it does come to a place where we're gonna do like a capital campaign, we're gonna say, we wanna raise X amount of dollars, one of the things Dan said to us, he's like, yeah, new bathrooms are cool, but you can't put it on the front of a pamphlet. Or new couches are cool, but, and that's something that kind of sticks with me is this is really a long game thing. This isn't a, one and done activity.
Got it.
And construction's tough. I mean,
Right.
the other thing he didn't really say, but all of these projects here that cost these amounts that are big to us, these are small potatoes for construction. So even like when we did our pickup window and that one came in under budget, that was a $200,000 project and that was small potatoes and got dragged out for a year because it was small potatoes. So starting with somebody and actually knowing like, hey, we're gonna have guaranteed work across that time frame that might bring in better bidders as well. So that's something
More
to think about.
interest.
But anyway.
So what do we do as next steps at this point? Do we need to make a decision this evening? Do we talk about things in July? I mean, I'm not clear on what.
Katie's
that
got
needs
some
to be.
ideas that we're gonna talk about at the end of the meeting.
Yeah.
So TBD.
Yes.
Okay.
Wait with bated breath.
Okay.
Anything else related to this? And are we able to share that presentation with Chantal as well, just so she's in the loop on
Yeah, happy to.
everything? Okay.
I can share it with everybody.
Yeah, I think
That'd be
a nice
great.
reference
I'd like to be able to
have.
read it again.
And I just would love for her to be able to see
You
that
could read
too.
the fine print. It says don't get attached to these numbers.
Yeah.
Anything else related to this? Anybody have any questions or thoughts they want to share before we move ahead? No. Okay. All right. Okay. So next up we have Chuck doing his annual digital services presentation.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I'm gonna sit down.
Oh, that's okay too. Should connect right back. I have it in HDMI too.
Please let me come up. Please work. Hi, everyone. You can see the screen? Anyway. My name is Chuck Johnson. I'm in charge of our digital services here. And I want to kind of walk you through some of the things that we offer you all in the library. I've been overseeing our online resources for 12 of the last 14 years that we have had online resources. Let's see if I have to show you. We have 23 different types of equipment totaling some 55 items. We circulate Rokus. These are all two Grange card holders. We have Rokus that have every streaming service you can imagine on them. They're very popular. We have a Sony vlogging camera, which I don't know if you have family members that are into vlogging now and making movies and TikTok and all of that. Well, we had a little GoPro, and the GoPro was more for the younger kids, so we added the vlogging camera for the teens, and it is very popular. We also offer hotspots so that people that do not have Wi-Fi have access to all our wonderful online services, and we're not shutting anybody out, but we find that a lot of people are using them for vacations and for
Doing work from the van in Nebraska.
Yeah. So they're popular too. And then a few years ago, I added a projector with a Bluetooth speaker because people really love having movie night in the backyard or block parties, and playoff games and all kinds of things are very popular. And it comes with a big screen and everything, so that's a fun thing to do. About 2 years ago, I added DVD players, which I was trying to get away from with all of our streaming things, and a parent said to me, we're on a car trip, and I don't want to take the iPad that has Disney on it with a million choices. I want a DVD player. I want to check out 3 DVDs from the library so the kids have no choice and we don't have any fights. And so we now circulate DVD players. Nintendo Switches are also popular with parents. We circulate 2 of them, and as they've said to me, it checks out for 3 weeks and then it leaves our house. And then we can check it out maybe again later in the year. So that's a popular item too. We circulate a lot of different items. These are just some of our current online resources. We have Mango languages, total language, Spanish and French are the top two. We offer Weiss Financial, where you could check your stocks. You could help your team plan a budget for college. You could help your folks research a Medigap plan. It's got a lot of all kinds of budgeting and planning and checking and see what your bank is rated at and things like that before you get a new bank or a mortgage or whatever. We also offer LinkedIn Learning, a universal class for people that want to take classes. We have people who are getting certificates through LinkedIn Learning that they can then take to their employer and get a raise. People are watching movies with Hoopla and Canopy. You can craft with Creative Bug. You can listen to audiobooks with Cloud Library, Libby, or Hoopla. Patrons can check out magazines from Hoopla and Libby and Press Reader. In 2015, 10 years ago, we had a circulation of 650 magazines. This last year, our circulations for magazines and newspapers was just over 18,000. Popular. And part of the reason for that huge increase is this last year we've added the Chicago Tribune online and the New York Times All Access, which you can access Wirecutter, which is kind of a Consumer Reports, games, Wordle, you can play Wordle, cooking, I got it in 2 today. Cooking, and The Athletic. We had the Tribune last year, and it was through Press Reader, and it was really popular, and I did a lot of PR and said, come on, everyone get rid of your Tribune, and people got rid of it, and then the Tribune pulled the plug out. So I was working from last July on over 8 months with News Media Group to get a subscription for an online Tribune, which they were just learning how to use, work with libraries. So then all of a sudden, after 8 months, Rails got involved and did a group purchase, and we were part of the 16 pilot libraries. And that just ended a few weeks ago. And of the 16 libraries, our circ was the highest of those 16. So we know that people want the Tribune in this town. Starting July 1st, the Tribune will be open up to all the other libraries in Rails, and everyone will start having access to the Tribune. So that's been really popular.
I canceled both of my Tribune and New York Times
I want people to do that.
due to Chuck's hard work. So my first
I want people to do that, but I did that last year, and I got into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So it took me a long time to get the Tribune back, and we were really working hard to get it. And I did want to point out that the cost of those 2 subscriptions that you're saving is more than the library taxes, on your LaGrange taxes, what you're paying for the average household.
Wow.
You're already saving money if you were just to get rid of those 2 subscriptions. So, yeah, we're saving you guys some money because you're paying a lot of money. This year, we also recently, like just last month, we added Swank Streaming. Swank is our movie licensing vendor. Any movie that is shown in the library, we have to get the rights to the film through Swank. But in the past, we'd have to schedule a screening, and then we'd have to get the DVD, and we'd have to wait till it's cataloged. Or if we scheduled it in the future and somebody checked it out, we'd have to put it on hold months in advance and then hold on to it because we wanted to make sure we can. Now we have Swank Streaming, and anytime we can just go into the software and a la Netflix and just click watch. And any device in the building, we can be streaming certain movies that are all, license approved already. So if we have some teens in the room, being rowdy, we can put a movie on. For summer reading, we can put a movie on. We could put a movie on right now instead of you listening. But it is nice, and so I think it's going to be used a lot by staff. I think people are really going to start utilizing it for people in the library. The other thing that we did this last year, and this is where things get a little bit, I have to read this part because we need to get our website ADA compliant. Title II of the ADA requires state and local governments to make sure that their services, programs, and activities are accessible to people with disabilities. The Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG, version 2.1, level AA, is the technical standard for web content. And the compliance deadline to achieve this is April 26, 2027. So to get ready for all of that, to make us compliant, we have started taking classes on what that means. And we have started working on our alt text, which is all the text that goes under all the images that are on our website. And this is something we always did, that we would, the classes taught us that we can't say, teen reading book for an image. We have to go in and say, curly-haired young man, with his, and then describe it at length for people. We also found out, like our icons that are on our website, the Facebook and Twitter and all those things, can't just say icon. They have to say
what they are.
We have to be more specific with things. So we worked very hard with our website host to do an overhaul of our website. They went through and created a sitemap for us now, which just went up on our website in the last month. We've improved our alt text. We've added a language drop down, so now you can go to read our website in different languages, which is nice if you speak a different language. And we are working to get up to level AA. We will do an annual audit every year of our website, and that's included with our web host packaging. Currently, to date, we have an accessibility of 97.
That's great.
So there's room for improvement.
The thing about it is we're always going to add a photo. Someone's always going to say, I put a video in it. Like we had someone put videos in and we didn't realize there is no dialogue to the video, but we still need to go in and turn on so it says, no dialogue with this video, otherwise people don't. So we still have some learning. There's a learning curve, but we're doing pretty good. I was happy with that. Did you know that we were 97?
I love 97. I think Liz doing that.
You still have a couple of years.
This is our digital circulation for the past, how many years? 14. So in 2012, we had 3,500 digital circulations. This year, in the 24-25, we had just under 97,000 digital circulations. If you look here during the pandemic, does that come up there? No, I'm pointing things out and you can't see. If you look out under 18, 19, 20, 21, you start to see it plateau a little. That's when the library opened back up and people were like, well, do I want to keep reading digital books or do I want to go back in the building? And so we kind of leveled out. And then for the past 3 years, you can see we've just basically skyrocketed. And I do want to go into why that's happened. First of all, this is our Overdrive checkouts. And one thing I want to clarify for everybody so that you know, we get our ebooks and audiobooks and magazines through Overdrive. Overdrive is the corporation. Libby is the app that you read the books with. And if you ever hear somebody say, usually it's me, Media on Demand, that is the group of 59 libraries in our consortium. You guys are in eMedia Library?
No, we're standalone.
Oh,
Dun, dun, dun.
You must be rich.
Great.
So I just wanted you to be aware of what the different things are, but I just wanted you to look at these numbers and look and see, compare populations and neighbors. Our closest neighbors, Western Springs and the Grange Park, have about 3,000 fewer residents than we do. We have almost twice as many circs as LaGrange Park. We have 25,000 more circs than Thomas Ford. Woodridge is twice our size, and we have more circulations than them. We have a community that is reading ebooks. Some of the reason for the increase in circulation is about 3 years ago, we started a Lucky Day collection. And so you know what a Lucky Day collection is that we have to, when we buy a book online, we have to buy an extra copy to make it a Lucky Day book because you can't put a Lucky Day on hold. It has to just, we have to have one available to put holes and then one not for the Lucky Day shelf. The Lucky Day book goes out for 7 days instead of 3 weeks. So these days, when an ebook expires in 12 and 24 months, we buy a book and it's gone in 12 to 24 months. We normally could get 17 checkouts out of that book before it's gone. Now we can get 52 checkouts out of that book before it's gone. So what we're doing is taking our high holds list, and for the fast readers, and we have many fast readers here, we are burning through the books that we've already paid money for and getting a lot more usage out of them.
And is that just like a contractual thing where you only get the ebook for 12 to 20
years? Any longer. They come in three different ways, well, 4 different ways really. We have like one copy, one user, which is your book, you get to keep it forever.
Yeah.
Then we have metered access, which is 12, 24 months, or 100 checkouts, or 26 checkouts. And then we have cost per circ. Yeah, which I'm going to, which leads us to cost per
You're
circ.
welcome.
The publishers have us by the.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing before I go on cost per circ, I do want to point out, of the 59 libraries in our consortium, we are the only library that utilizes the Lucky Day collection.
So it's not part of the Lucky Day purchases are not part of the consortium. Wow. I use it quite a bit.
So when I see it on Libby, we're the only one that has that, where it's like,
yeah, don't you feel special? No,
In the first section you get to it says Lucky Day, and you click there and you see 99 copies of something.
Yeah.
That's me loading those.
Well, we're the only library that has that?
We're the only library that's doing that right now.
They want to pick Chuck's brains so bad.
I'm so spoiled.
And when they try to do it, they don't necessarily do it correctly, because we had a couple libraries that purchased 100 copies when Onyx Storm came out.
Oh, yeah.
And there were 700 holds on it. A few libraries went in and said, well, I'll buy a copy that has 100 checkouts on it for a huge amount. And because they were sharing the book, their patron got the first copy, and 99 went to the 59 other libraries.
It requires a lot of strategery.
It's a lot of work.
And finesse, you know.
Yes, it's like playing a pipe organ or something. It's weird that nobody else has jumped on board, but it's.
I just thought that was normal on the app.
No, you're the only people that got it.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, we've had it we started, the problem is why libraries can't do it is because you have to have startup money. Because you can't say it's your lucky day and buy 5 books, because the books will be gone. You have to buy 100 books, 150 books, I think we bought that first year.
But that was that year where you used that grant.
We had a $25,000 grant, and that started the collection. Now it's just part of our budget to say, I'll buy 2 copies of that, I'll buy 3 copies of that, I'll make 1 lucky day. So that's kind of how it works.
That's cool.
Cost per circ. This is another way to utilize, basically it's a pay-per-use. And to reduce high holds on popular books, or we want to offer a bestseller to patrons on the day it comes out. We basically rent a copy of that book. Everyone got the new Emily Henry book the day it came out. Last year, this year, nobody waited. The John Grisham, when it comes out, everyone gets it. We can't afford to do this all the time, but it makes for a lot of people getting a book that they want to see and not waiting forever for it. It's really frustrating when you see a book that you want popular like that and it says 6-month wait.
Yeah.
You know, you are 89th in line, or whatever it says on there. We never had that information before, and now it's very frustrating. But whatever you're reading is always better than what our neighbor is reading.
Yeah.
Because I go to my library and I'm waiting forever. So basically,
I've become very good at turning early.
I'm trying to. Just one person waiting, they will be so happy.
Yes.
I agree. You're an angel.
These are the 7 libraries that are utilizing cost per circ. You can see last year we sold 3,100 books. Oak Park, with great budget that they have, did it 2,500 times. You can see that Thomas Ford is starting it, and Westmont is trying it. But it's hard to explain to people, but what they don't realize is that if you go to Libby, and you're even like a new user, and you look for a book and you don't find anything, and it says 8-month wait, you might do that once, twice, 3 times tops, and you don't go back. If you go in there and you get a book, like the new Grisham, or the Emily Henry that is so popular, and you get that right away, you put other books on hold.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
At the same time, because you're reading this one, you put another book. We got a new concept. We made a new customer here. And so basically, to illustrate this, it really builds our usership. And if you look at this, we have currently, last month, we had over 1,200 unique users using just Overdrive alone. At the height of the pandemic, we had 600. When you couldn't get in the building, we had 600. And now we have over 1,200. So you can see that by that book going out 52 times, by really popular titles coming out again that same week, you're building up this customer base. And we used to have around during the pandemic, we got up to 2,000 holds at any given moment. And during the pandemic, with some funding and grant money, I got it down to 1,700. We're now over 3,500 every day. And that isn't because we're not managing the holds. It's because we have all these new users that want these books right and left.
Well, and I'll put like 5 on at one. Like people just put knowing they'll come eventually.
It'll take time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's where we're hurting the stats. You can take that. You can take that good job back.
So does that help with circulation numbers though, and like funding? If that, the more of these things are going to be.
it helps with my funding.
Yeah.
When I come to you and say I need more money.
Yeah.
I mean, roughly 25% of our circulation, even
30% last year was
30% of our
crazy.
overall circulation is
of the
digital.
whole circulation.
So that includes books, kits, everything.
Yeah, that's where
we put money into it.
And I noticed from the way the books are checked out with other libraries in our library, if you go in and see if the consortium owns 50 copies, 14 will be checked out. That means, and there's still 700 holds, you know that they're sitting on a hold shelf somewhere. We buy 14 copies, we have 13 copies currently checked out. So either one is sitting on lucky day waiting for a lucky person to get it, or it's on hold shelf. But that's one copy, as opposed to 40 or 50 copies, just waiting in no man's land for people to go to their device and go, oh, I guess I want that book. So we know right away that the people in our town, the turnover, they're reading. You're reading, and so that's really good. And that shows why those numbers are going to hit way over 100,000 this year.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Questions? I talked a lot.
You did a good job.
Great job.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I need to update my statistic. I keep seeing 25%, but 30%.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I was thinking about one of my friends. She's a huge library user. She doesn't really come to the library, but she
And we do report e-circulation and content and things like that in the IPLA report to the state and to the state library. So they compile that to, it used to go to the Institute of Museum and Library Services, TBD on what's going to happen with it, but we are still reporting it. So it does impact it long term.
So you're next up with the annual non-resident visitor.
All right, so you will see this memo every single year in June. So as the memo stated, we each year in June have to declare if the board still wants to offer what's called a non-resident card. And non-resident cards allow for someone to purchase a LaGrange Public Library card if they live in a non-incorporated area of LaGrange. So for us, that's Countryside, Indian Head Park, it could be some of Burr Ridge. There's a map that we check to say which library you're supposed to go to. The board does not have to do this. However, I cannot think of a time where we have not done this. So you could make that decision. And then we have to decide if we do it, we have to choose the method by which we make them pay for these cards. So one way is the current one that is the general mathematic formula, which means that you set a flat fee and it costs this much money. So for example, Thomas Ford uses that method and it costs $400. No matter the size of your house, the size of your property tax, whatever, it costs $400 to get a library card there. Good thing, bad thing. Maybe that works for them, maybe it doesn't. So that's one way you can do it. The second way is what we use currently, and that's the tax bill method. And the tax bill method is we make the applicant, we look up their tax bill. You can look up any address's tax bill in the, Maria Pappas is the Cook County treasurer? Is that who she is? Yeah. You can look it up. And essentially what happens is we do a mathematic formula. We have a calculator on our website if people ever want to look. And it is, the person then pays something that is considered an equivalent to what an incorporated taxpayer pays. So as we mentioned in our memo, that one is considered fairer for people. The fee is not per library card. The fee is per household because obviously you could have 6 people that live in a household, but there's only one tax bill. So Rebecca and I put together, and we do have to declare this every year. Our recommendation is that we keep doing what we're doing. And we offer the non-resident library cards and utilize the tax bill method again this year.
And we do this every year.
Yes, every year in June for us.
And who is it? Outsourced Solution Groups that creates this for us?
No, we do this all in-house.
This isn't the Patron Network fixed fee?
No.
Okay.
This is for just the non-resident library card fees.
Okay.
How many do you get about a year?
We have 22 currently registered at LaGrange, so not a ton. The income for that is roughly $3,000 to $4,000 a year. So not too
So
much.
is this a fee that they pay every year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And when you go to your library and you do, like, let's say, for example, people should go to the library that they are assigned to by, the state has a geolocation map that you can check. Not everybody does that. So there are some people that prefer to go to Thomas Ford or McCook, which I think is $100. But what happens is if you buy a McCook card, which is fine, you can, but you then, there are certain things that you would not have access to everywhere. So like those wonderful ebooks, they don't have that at McCook, but we do. But if you buy a McCook card, then you don't get access to those ebooks here. So there are benefits to doing that, but we also are not, we're not the non-resident police. We don't tell anybody where to go. We'll make the recommendation, hey, your library is, you know, Indian Prairie Public Library in Darien. That's the one you should go to. So,
Okay.
Yeah, but that's our recommended action.
Do we have a motion to approve the annual non-resident resolution?
I motion to approve the non-resident resolution.
I second the motion. Any discussion? All right, roll call.
Okay, Katie?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Vicky?
Aye.
Bethany?
Aye.
Jessica?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Motion pass.
Excellent.
And one of you will sign the agenda before you leave tonight. Or not the agenda, the resolution, sorry.
We can do that. We could sign the agenda.
Yeah, we could all grab that.
We have 6 A's and 1 absent.
Okay, so next up is the annual preliminary levy letter. A lot of alliteration. So this is something, again, that we do every year around this time where we just send this lovely letter that I wrote myself entirely to the village to let them know what we are intending. This is like the maximum that we're going to ask for, right?
Yes.
And then in these discussions in the coming months, we will fine tune this figure to make it a more accurate one. And that will be our actual levy letter our levy that we bring to the village when they approve the budget in November.
Yes, so we set forth our levy ask in November, and then usually the treasurer and the president go to the village board meeting, which they had in December last year, but I know there was some wonkiness with the dates last year. But as long as they pass the levy, they may ask us some questions and things like that, but otherwise, they usually don't. Ask too much. But because they carry our levy for us and because we have to do it within 60 days of our fiscal year, we have to do this.
So this is just kind of formality and a heads up, like, hey, we're going to be asking you for money later. right? Right?
Yes.
Yes. Just in case you forgot from last year.
Yes.
So,
Every year before.
Since we've been here since 1904.
Seriously.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the preliminary levy letter?
I motion to approve the preliminary levy letter.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Katie,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Vicky,
Aye.
Bethany,
Aye.
Jessica,
Aye.
Jennifer.
Aye.
Motion passed.
And then next up, Lisa, you got our library card policy.
Yes.
Yay.
Okay. So the policy committee has been going through the policies every other month or so, I think is what our cadence is. And the most recent one we did was library cards. Much of it is pretty straightforward, but there's one section that I want to call out that I want to make sure everyone is aware of. What we're proposing is the exemptions to non-resident fees. And Jen had a new recommendation. Can you talk through that real quick?
So in 2020, Governor Pritzker passed what was called the Cards for Kids Act. And in it, with that act, it said that all school-age children in Illinois who are at or below the federal, I think it's the FDA that sets the free lunch line, that those children are entitled to have a free library card if they live in a non-resident or unincorporated area. We currently have 2 non-resident cards for kids people using it here at the library. However, in 2021, they amended the act to say that individual boards of trustees could elect to expand that reach to all children birth through 18. So if you are not enrolled in school, you may be 2 or 3, you don't get you don't meet a federal poverty line, you would not necessarily be entitled to a card. However, we are proposing that the board allows people who live within the boundary of the Grange School District 105 to be able to, if they are birth through 18, be able to get a non-resident card at no cost. You might say, why District 105? And that's because that is the largest area in our unincorporated area that would be coming to our library. So that's the LaGrange Highlands, and it is countryside. Rebecca polled for me, that's about, District 105 has 391 students who would be eligible for this no-cost library card and access to the early literacy resources. And then in District 204, people who are go to Lyons Township but live in the Highlands or countryside, aka within the District 105 boundaries, that adds another 428 people. So essentially, we would allow 700 and almost 800 students to be able to get a free library card. Plus anyone who is birth through 5 who may not have access to a library or resources without it. And then the other parts are highlighted. Those ones already exist, but I thought, we're talking about this section, so I'll do the whole section. So there's also an exemption for cards for vets, which has stood for a long time. If you are what's called a Gold Star veteran, which means that you are either 70% disabled in the line of duty, or your spouse has, or parent has passed away due to their service, they don't pay property taxes. Therefore, they already get a free card because they don't pay property taxes. So this is just highlighted because we wanted to make sure that it was included.
A couple questions on the kids. I am embarrassed I don't know the school district. So District 105 is elementary school, and that's 300-ish kids.
Middle school, I think, is
Middle
in there as
school.
well.
Yeah,
It's Ideal Academy.
Ideal Elementary,
Okay.
Hodgkins Elementary, Spring Avenue School, and then Grange.
Yeah.
And the
And you're saying the extra 400 are because they're within the 105 district, but they go to LT.
Yes.
They're in the, okay, got it. And then the other question, and just for clarification, if they're above the poverty line, do they still get it free based on this?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are, one of the reasons you might say, well, why don't you just open it to all of LT? Because there are an additional, in 204, there are an additional almost 500 people that are high school age that do not have public library card access. And that's because there are 17 feeder communities that go into Lyons Township, and only 11 of them have a public library card or a public library. So essentially, we could look at expanding that in the future. However, having an influx of 1,200 students for our size of staff would be quite a bit. So we're proposing starting with people that live within District 105 and then maybe expanding it again in the future if we can.
I want to just confirm that we are talking about the right district, because I'm glad you mentioned that, because Highland School District is actually 106. And so as we're talking about 105, I'm like, well, Gurr is in LaGrange, Spring is in LaGrange, Ideal is in Countryside, I believe, and then Hodgkins is obviously in Hodgkins. So are we talking about District 106, which is Highlands Elementary and Middle?
I think it's the area of the Highlands that actually has a LaGrange 60525 address but is not incorporated.
We were talking about
Rebecca
that.
told us.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's like a little
Okay, so those
cutout.
folks
Yeah.
I'll
go
go back
to-
and make sure I'm telling you the exact thing she mentioned to me. Let's see.
She had some very
Yeah.
she was very precise on
She did, yeah. We'll bring it up in the
Okay.
policy
So-
meeting, and
Yeah.
she clarified.
Okay, she clarified. All right,
Yeah,
she
so there
knows
are
what she's-
391 students that live in Countryside and attend Ideal Elementary or Gurry Middle School. So their residency, she did link me to their residency map. Let me just pull that up.
There's also some countryside folks at Spring.
That's Spring Elementary.
Because the border is right
That's
at
right.
53rd. It switches from LaGrange into countryside. So Spring and also serves as
Gotcha.
So there's some
folks.
students there, so maybe that's what you're thinking of.
Yeah, well, and I mean, just to clarify, not a big deal, but so like Hodgkins kids would have access
Hodgkins
to
cards.
both Hodgkins cards and LaGrange cards? Or,
So they may be, it depends on I think which side of the border that they live on. Is it Hodgkins School and just Hodgkins students? I don't know off the top of my head.
I feel like there's
Yes, it is just
is it?
Hodgkins.
There's no like countryside that go to Hodgkin?
No.
So then if they have Hodgkins addresses, they would go to the Hodgkins
they
Public
would
Library.
say like, hey, you get your card at your library, and
They should hopefully already get one from Hodgkins if they have a Hodgkins address,
Maybe
because
they-
Hodgkins has no unincorporated areas.
okay.
We do.
Do they have a temporary facility while they're?
They will. I was going to tell you that.
Okay,
Director
sorry.
over there.
I was just like, I'm like, maybe they should come here if they need a library to go to. But okay, thanks for clarifying.
One of the things to keep in mind is we do have, and a lot of people think like, oh, unincorporated places would be like further downstate Illinois because it's wider areas and things like that, but that's a misnomer. The largest non-incorporated or unincorporated areas in Illinois are actually within the borders of Cook County. So we have quite a few around us. But again, like they're assigned by that geographical map. So like Countryside people wouldn't go to Hodgkins. They're technically supposed to come here.
Yeah. Okay.
And, you know, one of the things that we talked about is that in reality, the money, you know, this is the thing to keep in mind too. It's for birth through 18. So parents still have the opportunity to come in and purchase their own card if that's what they want, parents or caregivers. This is really about giving access to those, you know, young children for early literacy, but also for, you know, the support through the high school years.
I think when this came out, like one of the most powerful things someone told me was like, kids don't get to choose where they live.
Yeah.
Like they live where their parents live, and so
Yeah.
I love that this expands access to kids wherever they live. So
Do we?
Yeah, go on.
yeah, do we have a motion to approve the library card policy?
Motion to approve the library card policy.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Excellent. Any further discussion? Excellent. Roll call.
Katie?
Here. Aye. Aye.
Vicky?
Aye.
Bethany?
Aye.
Jessica?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Staff
Thank
will
you,
be very
Jen.
happy about that.
Lisa.
just a question, I know I should have asked it beforehand, but is there like a new, if this is a new adjustment, is there a communication plans? Okay, great. So the kids know it's out there.
One thing you learned about me is I like to do it real big in September.
Great.
Sign-up month.
Yeah.
So we're definitely working on that, but we wanted to talk about it now in the hopes that we can start communicating with the school districts now to figure out a way to get either like digital backpack access. We do this at Villa Park. One of the things we do there is we provide the school with postcards, and then the families come in and get the card. They just give us a postcard. That was one of the things that I was uncomfortable with the original law, was that people would have to prove that they were at the poverty level. And that is so embarrassing and demeaning. So a lot of people, people don't return their library books because they're embarrassed it's overdue, right? So to come in and say, I don't make enough money for my child to eat. Just breaks your heart. So you all taking this step really opens the door and to access with kindness. And I think that's the best thing we can do.
Yeah. All right, so committee reports. So finance, I know Chantal's not here this evening, but finance committee did meet.
We did. I think the biggest thing was the levy letter that we just approved.
Chantal got her stamp.
That's exciting. I did see that on the.
She was excited. I have my own stamp too. I highly recommend getting a stamp.
Excellent. And is there an upcoming meeting planned in your?
They just got new requests for funding. So Arcadia is thinking about, she's trying to decide, should she try and schedule an upcoming meeting or something different?
Jumping to the Friends.
Was that what you were asking?
I was asking if there's an upcoming finance committee meeting.
Sorry,
but no,
I thought you said Friends. That's my fault.
But with finance, are you aware of anything?
I have not heard anything.
Okay, we'll have to return, to that later. So, okay, I'm sorry. So Arcadia's.
Yes. So, for those of you that might not be familiar, just to tell you real quick, so the Friends of the Library give us grants for certain things. So like Chuck's Swank streaming was from the last. And essentially, that's essentially it helps them to know kind of what their funding is going towards. They don't generally say no, but it's nice for them to have knowledge of like what staff, the funds that they're raising, what staff is using. Oh, I can tell you too if you want about the Friends. So we had, unfortunately, with the previous leadership of the LGBA, we kind of got pushed out of the farmers market, which our Friends usually run that. However, the new leadership has invited us to come as often as we can. So unfortunately for them, we shifted gears and totally planned to do our parties in the park. So we already have stuff, but we are seeing if we can rally ourselves together to maybe go once or twice in the summer. So you may see us there next week, TBD, on the 26th. If not, you'll see us there every Thursday in September doing story times, because again, National Library Credit Sign-up. So
it might also be good if you do have an opportunity at the farmers market for like the unincorporated. Letting them know if you live in X area, you're eligible. Your kid might be eligible for a library card.
That's a great idea.
Actually, at my work library, that very thing. Because you get such a nice.
You get such a
cross section of people.
Group of people might be another way you could market it at least.
So Jenny, I know you are our Friends liaison. Have you been able to make contact?
I have not yet, but I just wrote a note to get that contact information so we can get started. I figured you had my back.
Okay, Rails ILA.
That was me. I don't have any information. I did sign up on the website, but I'm not getting newsletters. Do those normally come weekly or?
Yes.
Okay. So I did something wrong.
If you
I was trying
want
to figure that out too, to be honest.
If you want before you all leave, I can look on the website and show you, make sure you're signed up.
Okay.
But I don't think there's anything really big going on at Rails.
Doesn't seem like
kind of
it's really no.
And ILA too, they haven't had a ton going on. They've got other things.
Yeah.
Federal things that we're in right now. So
very good to know. Policies, thank you for your work on the library card
Yes.
policy.
Yeah, so we had that meeting just last week, and then we're going to plan to meet again in August. And you have probably 3 more policies in the queue. For
I
us.
divided the year into quarters. So I have 3 to 4 for fall, winter, spring, and summer and spring. Spring and summer.
Okay, so we'll get back on the books in August. Will be our next update.
Is there a date for that meeting?
So do we want to talk, we had talked about that. Should we talk about that after the meeting and look at calendars? If you guys have a minute
Do you want
to
talk about
stay.
it?
Well,
Yeah.
so I had wanted a future meetings line, but we can maybe sneak that into trustee comments. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
great.
So yes,
Okay.
we'll take care of that. Yep, let's do that. And then village liaison.
So I did listen into the village meeting this week.
Fun.
They did give a shout out to Becky. Beth Augustine did, like when they did committee comments, she actually did give a shout out. Everyone else seemed oblivious, but I was like, yeah, the library, I have something to report. So they did give her a shout out, and she said some nice things about her commitment and time. Otherwise, there was just some discussions about parking concerns, which actually what is our policy for the parking lot post hours? I don't know if I officially know what that is.
Our policy is that it is library parking only during our operating hours. So during the week after 9 o'clock, anybody can park here. Friday, Saturday,
Overnight?
after 5, they can park here. We don't have overnight parking.
So technically no, but like no one's calling to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, nobody's here overnight to notice.
Yeah, right,
so
right.
That's the hard part. We could, I mean, if it was something that was like noticed or reported to us, I mean, we could keep our eyes out. But back in the day, staff used to go out and put little notes on your car reminding you. And it's like, how do you know? Like, you just don't. People do so many, like, I'm going to stop at the library, then I'm going to go, you know, grab Swanson's real quick or something like that.
Yeah, I was just curious because there was.
What was the nature of the?
The Elm owner discussed, I think his concern was, and also they usually allow parking in the Cassett parking lot, and I guess that hasn't been finalized with the village yet. It looks like they did set up barriers though.
Yeah.
So I think it was clearly underway, so
It's always a big.
yeah, and then there was also, actually this is kind of, there was discussion because they don't have a financial position, so they are hiring out to a contracted financial person who's going to be doing that work. So, I mean, in terms of our budget and stuff, it'll probably go through this company that they're contracting out with. And there was also public comment about that, like, how much are you spending? And this was the budget for the hire a financial planner, and this is what you're doing with the contract. And so there was just comment about that, but there was like the committee was giving no additional information in terms of that.
Yeah, that's one of the funny things. We usually send this to, you know, the president and the finance director, and I was
digital finance director.
like, so I'm still going to send them 2 copies. I don't know if
a
they need 2
consultant
copies.
company, I forget who it says that
They
they
do
hire, but there's a consultant company that's going to be doing
I have
that.
a meeting with Jack Knight in July to talk about some other stuff, so it'll be interesting. I hope maybe they'll have an update, and I'll find out how's the relationship with them going.
Yeah.
Because they have to hire somebody, because if we use we're on the same audit schedule, so if we're doing audit prep right now and working with our auditors,
Well,
they
I
are
think
too.
that's probably why they ended up pulling the
Yeah,
trigger.
you can't wait,
Yeah.
because all that stuff has to happen statutorily.
Right.
Yeah, great, excellent. So, executive director's report.
So I was just gonna pull a few little things to chat with you about today. You heard me reference before the IPLAR, which is the Illinois Public Library Annual Report. So one of the things that might be of interest to you, or it might not, is that the Illinois State Library collects a ridiculous amount of information. We are talking about 28 to 30 pages of information that all public libraries are required to report at the end of the year. And then they use that for different statistics and different reporting things. And they changed quite a few of the questions this year. Usually the leadership team and I work on it for 3 to 4 weeks pulling all of the statistics together. I compile them and then I submit them. A lot of it is just really the culmination of all the stuff you all see, program numbers, but also like how many Wi-Fi hits we get in a year, or they used to ask a lot about during the pandemic, how many weeks were you closed due to COVID and that kind of stuff. But they threw us for a loop this year and totally changed all the questions around. So that was fun because 22A was no longer 22A. There was a new question there. It got moved up to here. All this stuff. So I just pulled out some really interesting things that I thought were interesting that I would share with you all. So one of the things I thought was great is we own 23 more print serials, which is magazines and newspapers, than we did in 2024, which I find very fascinating because, we talk a lot about print medium going out of style. However, we see some of those, additions coming forth. And plus, Chuck talked about, too, the way that we have even more online magazines and newspapers. And correct me if I'm wrong, Chuck, but we have a high statistic in circulation of Hola magazine.
Hola magazine is like the third highest on press reader.
So people are reading the Spanish language magazine / newspaper, which I find fascinating. So those are those things that you wouldn't necessarily know off the top of your head. We have 8,278 registered and active resident and non-resident card holders in Grange. We have one of the highest percentage of registered card holders in Cook County. I think that's a, turn off our shoulder kind of thing.
Is it card holders versus your population?
It is, yes. Percentage wise.
Okay. Because this also seems like a really high number of active users for your cardholder population too, right?
This is just over 50%. I mean, it's 50% of the card holders in Grange. And I wanted to point out too, what does active mean? So active doesn't mean that you just have a library card. It means you have checked out a print material, accessed a database, ebook, or streamed a service using your library card at least once in the previous 12 months. So that means, the Grange really uses its library. And then it's just interesting to me, they want to know how many times our Wi-Fi and computers are used. So we're staying pretty consistent with last year. We had 5,862 sessions of our laptops. Remember, we circulate laptops in the library. We don't have any stand stations versus 5,810 last year, so people are really using the laptops. And our Wi-Fi sessions are pretty close. So we have people coming in to really stay and utilize the building, even if they are not necessarily taking something home. So it's really interesting. But were there any other questions from the report or things you wanted me to talk about?
No, but Ola magazine is like the Us Weekly.
That is so cool. Maybe are people
Spanish
practicing
language celebrity news.
Maybe people are practicing their language skills.
Celebrities here?
It's celebrity news. This cover has Ricky Martin, so there might be a. It's like
I've definitely tried to grab it at the airport in Mexico and been like, no. I can look at the pictures.
All right, but that's all for me.
Very cool. So I just have a couple things. The pep parade was really fun. Thank you to everyone
nice job,
who
guys.
came out for that.
I swear this was the most kids I've seen. This is the third time I've done it. This is the most children.
Watching.
The weather was, I was
participating
at baseball, but I heard it was amazing. Yeah,
it was.
It's like perfect weather.
It was long.
It's always long. It's always about 20 minutes longer than it should be. Yeah.
I always laugh because Peter's children are the library ambassadors. I hear more, hi, Cora! Anything else.
Well, I was by Becky Cerise, and she's like a magnet.
Her too.
Yeah, it was really fun. So thanks to everyone.
Miss Becky, and the parents are like, don't run in the
just long enough.
street.
I didn't get all of it. Remember?
Yeah.
I just need a little bit. But the kids love it because it's like the beginning, so people are like, oh yeah,
dumping candy.
So gung ho. I'm like, you're gonna run out. You've got a long way to go.
There was a part where Chantal and I came across like some Hershey bars in the walk, and I was like, what is, these were not Jolly Ranchers, these are Hershey bars. I'm like, we have to rescue these and get them to the people. I was like,
Give them to the people.
Look at us, we were facilitating the delivery of essential services to our community.
I did walk to a neighbor's house that night and might have picked up a stray Twizzlers and ate it, but it was still in case.
Strike that from the notes.
And I was like, strike that up.
If you have your signed acknowledgement of your trustee handbook, you can
I don't know if pink seems official. Thank you.
there. The fraud questionnaire, does that go to the trustees, the old folks, or does that go to everyone? How does that, do you know how that,
I am so sorry I missed the first part.
the fraud questionnaire?
For the audit.
For the audit?
Oh, that should go to the new trustee.
I got it.
To
Oh, I
Yep.
wasn't sure if that was spam. I'm so hesitant to
just-
click on things.
No,
It goes straight
that's a
to-
wise
Oh,
move.
I don't know.
Between my hospital email and my work email, I'm like, I'm not clicking on this.
Absolutely. Well, just
Yeah.
because it is so weird, I wanted to mention it.
Yeah, I should have. I have it literally up. Okay.
Yeah, so every year.
Every year this time.
We the audit firm will send out these questionnaires to us where
Okay.
it's just trying to assess, give you an opportunity if you have seen fraud to report it. My favorite is like, have you committed fraud?
Have you,
Of any of the
Yes
above.
or no? You're like,
have you seen
This is
someone
the
else?
time to
do it?
confess.
Eat an old Twizzler.
see someone else, that's fine, but like
Yeah.
yourself, like you're gonna be like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just print
So-
these out and return them.
So
Or
you-
You don't even need to print it out. You can just type it.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can do it digitally and
Okay.
then send it back to their weird email.
Okay.
Which does look fake.
Yeah.
It does look, it's very.
And there's no deadline. They just say as soon as possible.
But then they'll
right?
find out.
I'm glad you
You'll
said
get
that
a
because I totally
reminder.
was like, this seems.
It does, it
Yeah.
seems kind of sketchy,
Yeah.
so I
We
wanted
have
to
some
mention
very
it.
internet secure trustees, Peter.
I just opened that sucker up
Oh,
and
no.
I was-
like,
had
really
10
made this
minutes,
look good
yeah.
by putting my last name in a PDF, but I'm still not clicking it.
Management staff has to fill it out too, so I only have to, I only really wrangle them about it, and then they give us like the, you upload a bunch of stuff throughout the process, and then there'll be like the red X is the one you haven't done yet, so then we have to go through to so I will remind you. I mean, you don't go to audit jail if you don't do it today.
Well, now that I know it's real.
But feel free to reach out to me or Jen if you have any questions.
Okay.
And then the last thing I wanted to mention was just our future meetings. So I know you'll be setting a policy committee meeting. And I also I was talking with Jen just about these projects that we're talking about. We always talk about them like in this little vacuum here. And I thought it would be helpful for us to maybe plan some time to do a little tour of the second floor so we can really see
That would be
firsthand
good.
the spaces that we're talking about. I just think that would be helpful. So I'm hoping to coordinate a time, and I think we were gonna put together a doodle style poll for everyone to kind of assess what the best time would be. I think we were leaning toward possibly a Sunday afternoon if that is feasible for people. I know we're getting into vacation season and graduation party season and all of that, but maybe Sunday or Saturday afternoon or morning, Friday late.
I think we were hoping to do it when the library was closed and have this be like, so if you've done your
So
own
we're not staring at the one guy in the quiet room.
a special meeting. And what happens at a special meeting is you can, we're only coming together to talk about those things. So let's say, we were going to offer like Friday from 6 to 8 or something like that after the library was closed. It would really allow you to walk around, look at some of the deep nooks and crannies without worrying about disturbing patrons.
Okay.
It would be an open meeting, so we would have to have a staff member come in and, have them watch the door and be like, are you here for the meeting? And if they are here for the meeting, they have to be able to join us.
The public could come to this.
But I think it's a good idea to just take the time to walk around with Peter and I to really look at, put some of these visual, you look at it on like a plan or on a surface or whatever, and you don't necessarily go to all these places.
Or even if you go as a patron, you're not looking at it through the same lens.
Yeah.
We'd be looking at it in, as trustees. So we'll work on a doodle and get that ready to go and see what you guys think. Hopefully we can find a time that works for everyone. Hopefully.
Or most.
Or most, exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Now I have a quick question, unrelated, but because you mentioned OMA training, do we send that certificate of completion somewhere, or is that just for us to keep?
Can we collect it, Joanne?
I have gotten some in the past from a couple of trustees, but I'm not sure if
Don't need
everyone's-
it.
Melanie,
attention, please. The library is preparing to close. Please bring your items to the front desk on the first floor for checkout. Thank you.
And if you only have to do it once, so if you've done it in the past, you don't have to do it again.
I was gonna say, it's been a minute since I did it, but I do vaguely recall sending the certificate.
I'm doing it, I just started doing it again for myself because I haven't done it in a long time. So I'm refreshing myself as well.
Would be a good thing.
Yeah. And once you register for the website, you can go back and if you ever needed it for another board or something like that in the future, you can just print that you've done it.
Cool.
Thank you for that. Any other trustee comments from anybody? All right. Well, then on that note, we will adjourn at 8:46.
Awesome.